Hey guys, Dusty here with LPL. So in the last video, that was the part one of the gasser frame build. You saw us, I built a front stub and rails. So on this episode, we're gonna take, well, let me back up. We've got the 55 frame. It's up on the chassis table, which is just basically a jig. Today we're going to be lopping the front rails off of this chassis and starting to put the front stub back in it, that new one that I built in the last video. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, guys. So full disclosure, we screwed up. And I erased the video that showed us cutting the front frame rails off this chassis. So we're gonna run you through where we're at right now, and at that point, we'll you know, I don't think I need to show anybody how to run a cutoff wheel, or if I do, I'm sure there's another channel out there that explains that in its entirety. But anyway, I'll show you where we're at, and we can get started on the next phase here. All right, so let me start off first. Basically we made cuts up here on the frame, and we pulled all of our dimensions from this point, or this hole. And but before we did that, and you gotta excuse my mess here a little bit, but we squared the entire chassis on this frame table, and then we squared up the frame after we made this front cut. So when we started out, the passenger side rail was actually pushed rearward, maybe, a half inch or so. And so what we did is we drew measurement from this body mount to the rear one, and we measured across the frame, and now the frame is completely square after bumping some things in with well, quite frankly, a sledgehammer. So we beat this passenger side rail forward, but while keeping everything in alignment, maybe a half inch. Now we're within a 32nd crosswise, which is very tight and closer than any factory frame. So then we welded in this bar, clamped the frame really well, and it's actually, you could also tack it down to a table if you have something like this. So getting back to our cuts, I made a series of cuts. The main thing is to notice, this is just how I do it. A guy could do it any way he wanted, but I like to put in these rounds. What this does is, instead of, if I drew a straight line here and I just welded the frame directly to that with a butt weld, that's probably fine. But I don't like to do that because I like to have a lap joint. So this, the frame is going to butt up to this line here. Let me get in there and show it a little closer. The frame is going to butt up to this line here. This is going to lap over the outside of the new frame. But by doing a radius here, or a lot of guys do, you could even do a line like so. Anyway, it's called a fish mouth. And so what this does is it gives more area of weld than you would gain in a butt weld. Supposedly too, from teachers of long ago, telling me that, if you're going to join something together, the strongest way is on a radius. Therefore, there's no, corners to create a fracture point. I don't know how much I believe that, but we'll go for it for now. So, so from this point forward, I'm going to take this new front stub. I'm going to square it in this, you know, everything. I'm going to move it back into the chassis, get it leveled with the table, leveled with the frame, and square and perpendicular and parallel and all of the L's. And we'll get that on video, and we'll get to welding this thing in. All right. Hey guys, so at this point, and I did do some pre-work on this, but we've got everything squared up. As far as in the frame, it's square. So I know what height I needed to set at the back. I'm going to adjust the height at the front here and throw a level on it at this point. But the front frame stub is square. And as far as location in the chassis, we're within like a 32nd. So at this point, I'm just going to move these stanchions out to this, farther out, and throw a level on it, and we'll go from there. I'm going to use some 1/8" TIG rod to place under between the stanchion and the chassis, and we're just going to use this as a shim to get this just perfect level with the rest of the frame. And then we're going to clamp it. And that 100% did it. So that being said, it's just, you could use shim stock, you could use an old feeler gauge, you could use anything you got laying around. It doesn't have to be TIG wire. Hopefully I'm not, probably the right thing to do would be use some 16th-inch sheet metal or something. But a lot of this stuff, when it comes down to it, you just gotta freaking make it work. And I could spend time, go over to the lathe, make up some machinist jacks or something for the front, and adjust and dial this in, which is perfect. At the same time, how perfect does it have to be? Now, I'm not saying you need to skimp out and do shoddy work, but what I am saying is, if you've gotten it to this point and you're within a 32nd a square, you're better than 95% of the cars on the road today. You're probably better than 80% of the race cars that are going to go on the track. So feel good about that, and don't obsess over perfection, or don't obsess perfection over getting the car done so you can drive it and enjoy it and have a good time. All right, guys, so we've come to the end of this video. I realize we haven't gotten much done, but I need to run my other shop. I need to grab some 1/8" plate so I can make this filler down here. And honestly, you know, we've kind of come to the end of this little section. The next video, we'll be building. You know, we'll fabricate out this filler. We'll be using an iron worker and a shear and a brake. And we'll make something that really transitions the bottom of the frame very nicely. Something I'd also like to capture into the next video is we will start to lay out our front suspension. And from that point, we can move into building the front axle. So I'm going to do that myself. I'm going to show you guys the ins and outs of doing that. There's a lot of outfits out there that'll build axles. I personally don't. I haven't found one that is you know, 2 1/4" inch chrome moly. And really, that's what I want in the front of this car. It's going to get abused. It's a race car. Everything that I'm doing here is because it's a race car and it needs to be tough. So no bend axles in my future. Anyway, like, subscribe. If you like seeing this stuff, you got to subscribe, because that tells me that you guys want to see more of it. And we're constantly working on things. This 55, you know, we're going to be making some huge leaps and bounds on it very soon. We've got, you know, ongoing footage of my Nova and Mike's car that's all attached. We'll also be seeing. Might be seeing a return of Nick's Duster with the 3rd Gen Hemi project. So anyway, like, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.